The rising cost of living, economic uncertainty, security concerns, the climate crisis, agriculture challenges. The world is facing unprecedented challenges, and Europe is no exception. These are realities we can't ignore.
When we're beginning to work in this file in October 2024, the reality that we have in the world is completely different that we have today.
Eurobarometer surveys show that Europeans rely on the EU to tackle those challenges. That's why the EU invests its long-term budget in projects that EU countries can't carry out alone or as efficiently.
There are some things which, at European level, you can do better.
The current 7-year budget runs until 2027, and the EU is working on the priorities and scope for the next one. Members of the European Parliament, directly elected by Europeans, want the EU to invest in what matters. But what are their main priorities, and how does it all work? To learn more, I met with the rapporteurs on the file, the two MEPs leading the process in the Parliament. Let's dive in. Mrs. Carla Tavares, Mr. Siegfried Muresan, thanks so much for joining us here today. You have been working on this proposal for the EU's long-term budget together with other members of the European Parliament from all the different political groups and all the different geographies, the countries of Europe. The multi-annual financial framework, it's really a mouthful, but what it is the long-term budget for the EU. What is the MFF, and how is it important for an EU citizen's life?
The MFF is a budget to help the 27 member states to fight with challenges that we have in our 27 countries.
We want decisions to be made as close as possible to the people. But there are some things which, at European level, you can do better. So doing big cross-border projects, international projects, highways that cross from one country to another, energy infrastructure projects can be done better at European level. And this is why we have budgets for member states, but the European Union also has a budget. This is about 1% of the GDP of the 27 member states of the European Union. And we always plan it in advance over 7-year periods. And we call this the so-called multi-annual financial framework. So the long-term budget of the Union. Europe can help. It needs tools to help. The budget is an essential tool.
Do you think it's enough, that 1% of EU GDP?
We have to be honest to each other. We cannot do more with the same amounts or with less. We see the geopolitical risks, particularly on security and defense. We have to do more. This is why we say that if you expect Europe to do more, then the budget should also increase.
How would you explain to a citizen what the added value is of pooling together money like this for all the EU member states and spending it in one way as the EU?
We have the national, we have the local budget, but we need to support our investments with the union budget. It's very important for us. It's not possible to do the big things if we don't have the support from the union.
What is your job as a rapporteur, specifically on this file for the MFF?
Our role is to draft legislation, draft the position of the Parliament, then open that up for debate here in the European Parliament, to listen to them, to see what they expect. We made a proposal, we listened to members, we listened to specialized committees. They tabled about 2,000 amendments, ideas which they had. Our goal was to centralize that into a final position of the Parliament. So we had to negotiate, we had to make compromises, and we were the ones leading the establishment of the Parliament's position. That was voted by a clear majority in the Parliament. And now, with this mandate given to us, with this position of the Parliament, we need to represent the Parliament in the upcoming negotiations with the governments of the member states of the European Union or with the European Commission.
You mentioned that the Parliament has now adopted a resolution authorizing you to go forward here. How important is that resolution in this whole process?
It's the voice of the Parliament, and the members of the European Parliament are the only directly elected representatives at European level. It's the mandate given to us to represent the Parliament in the discussions with the other institutions. Whenever public money is spent, there needs to be democratic control and accountability. And that can only take place here in the European Parliament. This is why the Parliament has opinions, it has priorities on the budget, and then it's the Parliament who decides the budget as the so-called budgetary authority. And then the Parliament needs to look into how the budget is being implemented.
People are worried about economic uncertainty. It feels like the world is more insecure and that things are changing dramatically in recent years, particularly in recent months. So I asked the MEPs how the EU should act and what will be the role of the next long-term budget. Let's see what they said.
When we're beginning to work in this file in October 2024, the reality that we have in the world is completely different that we have today. We have Trump, we have a lot of challenges. We have the green transition and digital transition, the employment, the quality of the employment, a lot of challenges in this next MFF.
From your perspective, what do you think should be prioritized in this MFF?
Security, defense, and making the economy strong. In addition to that, competitiveness. Make sure that our economy stays globally competitive. That means invest in research, innovation, digitization, transition to green energy. The budget of the European Union has two traditional priorities: agriculture and the so-called cohesion policy, which is the main investment policy. It's the instrument that we use to build the schools, build the hospitals, build the highways, modernize the railways. If we spend on agriculture, it's an essential contribution to food security, and that is a part of national security nowadays.
What are you personally most concerned about when it comes to the budget? And what are you personally most hopeful about in terms of what the budget can accomplish?
I expect us to learn from the mistakes of the past. In the past, budgets were rigid. We want to make it more flexible. 7 years is a long period of time. If you decide on every penny in the beginning, if there is any unexpected development, you have no more money at hand to use for the new needs. Then we also need simplification. We will push a lot to make sure that it will be easier, faster, simpler to access EU funds, particularly for small beneficiaries, a mayor of a small city, a farmer, a young entrepreneur. Make rules easier there.
Young people all over the EU say that tackling rising prices should be the EU's top priority. But can the EU budget help? Let's see what our MEPs say.
What I think the next MFF can do is, particularly in these areas, quality employment, housing, it's a concern. I don't know if in the end of the day in MFF it's possible to do a lot in housing, but we need to discuss this, and I think it's opened the door when we put housing in the MFF, because you need to have solutions, and all the most part of 27 member states have a lot of challenge in this moment. It's impossible for young people to go out of the mother and father house, and we need to discuss these things.
The EU tasked Mario Draghi, the former head of the European Central Bank, with coming up with ways to make Europe more competitive. He said that the EU should invest an additional 800 billion euros per year. So, should the EU follow his recommendation?
Yes, there's a problem with our competitiveness. We should not always try to spend more money. We should also see how can we reorganize our structures, how can we become more attractive to private investors, and we should do that in parallel with investing more. This is why you hear us talk a lot about the need to improve the competitiveness of Europe. What we, of course, can do is invest in cross-border projects, energy infrastructure projects, digital infrastructure as well. So the more digital, the less energy intensive, the greener our economy is, the more attractive it is, and the more long-term predictability and safety it can provide to private investors.
The latest Eurobarometer survey says that 66% of Europeans want the EU to play a greater role in protecting them from crises and security risks. But what can the EU budget do about it?
We need to invest together. We need to have solidarity with all the 27 member states, and the next MFF need to look and to prioritize the investment in defense. And the investment in defense is not just to buy the arms, it's to invest in the private sector, invest in the competitiveness.
We feel that people expect us to protect them, and people expect that we contribute to making sure that jobs are safe and well paid in Europe in the future as well.
Another thing that Europeans are concerned about is climate change, but at the same time, some of them have concerns that the legislation that's been adopted might be inhibiting economic growth.
I think the competitiveness and the climate change are two faces of the same coin. We live in the new world, we have new challenges, and I think it's not possible to work in the one area without the other.
From the budget, you would basically modernize many buildings. You would make them more energy efficient. The more energy efficient a building is, the less energy it consumes, the smaller the bill for the beneficiary. We are investing a lot in transport. We're investing in infrastructure, but also in urban transport. We're investing in bicycle lanes. We're investing in buying new modern buses.
A strong majority of Europeans believe that the EU brings benefits to their country. I asked our MEPs to look into the future and imagine the EU 10 years from now. How will we know that their envisioned budget has actually brought benefits to us?
If Europe will be safer, if unemployment will be smaller, if there will be more jobs, if we feel that growth, economic growth, will be more stable, more sustainable, if there is more cohesion in Europe, because one of the duties of the budget, and this is, a legal obligation, is to achieve social and territorial cohesion, help the least developed regions. If the least developed region in Europe is more developed, and the discrepancy between, the very well developed, the rich urban areas and the lesser developed regions, if discrepancies are smaller, then this budget was a success. We need to preserve the high qualitative standards of our food here in Europe. Trump can complain that we're not buying his soybeans, but we don't, because the qualitative standards of European food are better. If we will produce more food in Europe in 10 years' time, this budget was a success.
I think if we don't have some compromises, it's very difficult. It's the future of the Union, the future of all of us.
How can the budget help governments, citizens, and the EU be more prepared for emergencies as they come, whether it be war, whether it be natural disasters?
We need to learn from the mistakes of the past. 7 years long period of time, unexpected things happen. Our proposal is more flexibility in the future. Keep money in reserves at hand, that you would not spend if nothing bad happens, but that you would spend under clear rules, under objective rules, if something bad happens. If there's a flood, if there's an earthquake, if there's a bushfire, or any type of unexpected developments.
Well, before we close out, I want to ask each of you for a closing message. What would you say is the key thing here going forward for the Parliament in this long-term budget?
We have our difference, of course, we are from different political groups, but in the end of the day, and when we sit to work, we have the same objective, the political priorities in the Union.
I think it will be our duty to come into all of the countries of the Union, to listen, to understand what the priorities are, and to build a budget that meets the expectations of people, and to put our money where our mouth is.
Well, before I let you go, I want to do a very quick exercise here. I'm just going to say a sentence, and you're going to finish the sentence. It'll only take about 2 minutes. Just one sentence.
No.
Okay.
Our three main aims for the EU budget are?
To have a budget that is flexible, that is simple, and that is sufficient.
The European Parliament's guiding principles for the next EU budget should be?
Guiding principles: defense, competitiveness, cohesion, flexibility, capability.
In one sentence, what's the point of an EU common budget?
There are some things that we can do better at European level, and it's the same in a family, you know, budget matters. It's the same in a company, it's the same in a city at national level. So the budget is there to transpose into reality what you want to do.
Well, I want to thank you both so much again. I know you're very busy working on the MFF, so we really appreciate you taking the time and helping people out there understand what the MFF is. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
The world is changing fast, and the EU faces many challenges. You've just heard how the European Parliament wants to address them by investing in what matters. The world might not slow down, but together we can shape where we're going. What do you think? What should the EU invest in? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more.